Title: I forgot to lock the door. What happened next still haunts me. Help this channel grow. Like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories. This helps us a lot. Thank you. The story begins. The door I forgot to lock. The sound of silence filled the house. It was one of those fall evenings when the light outside fades before you realize the day's gone. I had just come home from school, shoes half off, backpack thrown by the door. The usual routine of a 14-year-old boy used to being alone. Mom and Dad were working late. They told me that morning. Order pizza if you get hungry, Mom said, sliding a few bills on the counter. That was freedom to me. Pizza, video games, no rules, no noise, just me. By 7 p.m., the smell of melted cheese and cardboard filled my room. I sat in my gaming chair, headset on, neon lights humming behind my monitor. The world outside didn't exist. For that brief stretch of time, I wasn't some quiet kid from the suburbs. I was untouchable. And then it happened. It was faint at first, a click, a thud. The front door. I froze mid-game, controllers still in hand. My first thought was automatic. Mom? Dad? But they weren't supposed to be home until 10. No text. No car in the driveway. And then it hit me. I never locked the door after the pizza guy left. The sound of slow footsteps drifted from downstairs. Soft, cautious, like someone who didn't belong there. My heart thumped so loudly that it felt like it echoed through the floorboards. I muted my game. The hum of the console was the only thing left. Each step on the hardwood creaked slightly louder. Whoever it was, they weren't trying to be quiet anymore. I thought of yelling out, "Dad?" But my throat felt locked shut. What if it wasn't him? What if it was someone else? The footsteps reached the base of the stairs. I could hear breathing now, slow, heavy, deliberate. Every inch of me wanted to move, hide, run, anything, but my body refused to listen. The lights in my room were off. That was the only thing working in my favor. The faint blue glow of my TV cast just enough light to see the half-open door across the room. A thin crack, maybe a foot wide, the space between me and whoever was climbing the stairs. My mind was racing. Should I close it? No. Too late, the sound would give me away. Each step upward seemed to take forever. Then silence. I held my breath. The kind of stillness that hurts your chest. A few seconds later, a shadow broke the narrow slice of light spilling from the hallway. Someone was standing just outside my door. Through the gap, I saw movement, the faint curve of a shoulder, maybe the shape of a face. I turned my eyes away, terrified that if I looked too long, they'd notice. Seconds stretched into years. Then the shadow moved. The footsteps started again, this time going back down the stairs. I didn't move until I heard the final click of the door closing. When I finally stood up, my knees almost gave out. I sprinted downstairs, slammed the lock shut, and pressed my eye to the window. No one. The street was quiet, just the rustle of autumn leaves under the streetlight. I called my parents right away. They came home within 15 minutes, headlights sweeping across the driveway like some kind of rescue beacon. We searched the house together. Nothing missing, nothing broken. But there was something worse than anything missing. The feeling that somebody had been here, inside, watching, and chose to leave. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak, every whisper of wind against the window made my heart race. And when my parents finally went to bed, I stayed awake in the living room with the lights on, gripping the TV remote like it could save me. Because the truth is, it wasn't the noise that scared me most. It was the silence that followed. The men in maintenance uniforms. The city was bright outside, but inside my apartment, the light from my monitor was the only thing keeping the room alive. It was an ordinary weekday, quiet, predictable, the kind of day that feels too normal to ever go wrong. I worked from home now. Just me, my laptop, and the steady hum of the air conditioner. My building wasn't old or shady. It was modern, glass-paneled, and safe, or at least, that's what I thought. It was early afternoon when I first heard the knock. 3 dull thuds. From even the kind that sounded official. When I looked through the peephole, I saw 2 men. Both wore navy blue maintenance uniforms with stitched name tags. One held a toolbox. The other had what looked like an air filter in his hands. "Afternoon," one of them said when I opened the door. "We're changing the filters in all units. Won't take more than a minute." It made sense. The thing he held really was an air filter. Still, something felt slightly off. No email, no notice, no warning. But my logical mind overruled the tiny instinct whispering in the back of my head. "Sure," I said. "Go ahead." They walked in confidently, like they'd been there before. Straight to the small utility closet in my bedroom where the filter was. No hesitation, no confusion. I took that as proof they were legit. One of them looked back with a polite smile. "We'll be quick." I returned to my desk and kept working, the familiar rhythm of my keyboard clicks masking whatever sounds came from the bedroom. Maybe 2 minutes passed. Then I heard the door open and shut again. "Thanks," I said automatically, but there was no reply. Just silence. I assumed they'd left. Locked the door, sat back down and kept working. The hours melted away. By 5 o'clock, I was ready to relax. I closed my laptop, stretched, and decided to take the trash out before ordering dinner. Just a quick walk to the chute at the end of the hallway, less than a minute. I grabbed the garbage bag, unlocked the door, and stepped out. My hallway was quiet as usual, the kind of quiet that makes your own footsteps sound too loud. I dumped the trash, turned around, and walked back, maybe 60 seconds total. When I got back, the door was still slightly open. At first, I thought I'd forgotten to close it completely, but then, I froze. There was someone inside. A man, standing in my living room. He wasn't wearing a uniform. He wasn't holding a toolbox. He was just there, motionless, looking directly at me. For a full second, neither of us moved. I couldn't even breathe. My mind went blank, but my body reacted before my thoughts caught up. I turned around and walked right back out into the hallway, heart pounding so violently it hurt. I remember looking at the apartment number on the door, just to make sure this was really my place. It was. My apartment. My space. And there was a stranger inside it. I should have run. But some combination of confusion and disbelief made me do something completely irrational. I went back in. The man was gone. Or at least, I didn't see him. But I heard him, the quick, muffled sound of running feet. Then, a door closing deeper inside. The air felt heavy wrung. I backed out slowly, walked down the hall, and called the police from the lobby. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hit the buttons. When they arrived 5 minutes later, I led them upstairs. The front door was still ajar, just like before. The officers went in first. I stood outside the doorway, unable to cross the threshold. They searched the apartment, one room after another, their radios crackling faintly through the air. A few minutes later, one of them came out. "He's gone," he said. "You said there were 2 men earlier?" I nodded. My voice was barely steady. "They said they were from maintenance. Changing filters." That's when his expression changed. "Your building didn't schedule anything today." I felt the blood drain from my face. The officers checked the maintenance office. Nobody had been sent out. They hadn't even ordered new filters that month. The realization hit me in waves. Those 2 men weren't employees. They weren't there to change anything. They'd come to case the apartment. One of them had hidden inside the closet, waiting. When the first guy left, I thought both were gone. But one stayed behind, silent, patient, waiting for hours. He must have been in that closet the entire afternoon. While I worked, while I ate, while I sat just a few feet away, completely unaware. And when I stepped out to take the trash, he thought it was his chance. The only thing that saved me was time. 1 minute. Just one. That's how close it came. Later that night, after the police left, I sat by the door with every light in the apartment on. The air felt colder now, sharper, like the walls themselves were watching. I couldn't shake the image of that man standing in the living room, calm, almost surprised that I'd caught him. The detectives found fingerprints, but it took days before they called back. 2 suspects. A pair of con men who'd been posing as maintenance workers in other buildings across the city. They'd done it before, always targeting young professionals living alone. They were eventually caught. Cameras from the lobby had captured their faces clearly when they entered. But what chilled me most wasn't that they'd gotten in. It was how long they'd been planning to. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner of my living room, laptop open, door locked, chain fastened, waiting for dawn. There's something about silence after terror that never feels peaceful again. Because once you realize how easily someone can walk into your life, you stop feeling safe in your own home. And every knock at the door, every echo in the hallway, sounds like someone coming back to finish what they started. The man at the window. It started with a knock. Not loud, not frantic. Just 3 soft taps against the front door, somewhere between polite and predatory. I remember the time, a little after 9. I'd just come home from work, the smell of dinner still in the kitchen, a faint hum from the refrigerator filling the silence. The neighborhood was quiet, that kind of suburban quiet that feels secure, like the world outside can't touch you. I lived alone back then, renting a small house on the edge of town. It wasn't isolated, but it wasn't crowded either, a place where you could hear your own thoughts too clearly. When I heard that knock, I thought maybe a neighbor had stopped by. But when I looked through the window beside the door, I saw a man standing there. Hood up, face shadowed, motionless. I froze. He wasn't carrying a package, didn't look like someone lost. And it wasn't cold enough for a hood. I didn't open the door. I just watched him, hoping he'd leave. Then, ding-dong. The doorbell. That sound cut through the silence like a blade. I backed away slowly, heart racing, trying to stay quiet. He knocked again. Then again, louder this time. Every instinct told me not to answer. After a few minutes, the knocking stopped. I waited another 5, then dared to peek through the blinds. He was gone. The porch light revealed nothing but the damp shine of the driveway. I told myself it was over. Some random mistake. Maybe the wrong house. Maybe nothing. I went back to the kitchen, picked up where I left off, and tried to let my breathing settle. The clock ticked steadily, the world returning to its rhythm. Until I looked up. Through the kitchen window, the one facing the small fenced-in backyard, I saw him. The same man. Standing in the dark. Closer this time. He was on the other side of the glass, staring straight at me. His hand lifted slowly and tapped once on the window pane. A sound so soft it shouldn't have made me jump, but it did. I dropped the spoon I was holding. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then I ran. I didn't stop to think, just bolted for the living room, grabbed my phone, and called 911. My voice trembled as I explained what was happening. The operator's tone was calm, rehearsed. Stay on the line. Officers are on their way. The whole time, I could still hear faint movements outside, the crunch of leaves under shoes, the shift of weight on gravel. But he never tried to break in. When I finally worked up the courage to peek through the front window again, the backyard was empty. The man had vanished. I stayed up all night, lights on, TV on mute, eyes flicking to every shadow. Every sound outside, wind, branches, a passing car, sounded like footsteps. By the time dawn broke, I almost believed I'd imagined it. But that night I found out I hadn't. The next evening was colder. I closed every curtain early, double-checked the locks, even slid a chair under the door handle. I wasn't going to take chances. Around 1 in the morning, I woke up without knowing why. The air in the room felt heavier somehow, still, like the house itself was holding its breath. Something told me to look toward the window. And that's when I saw him again. His silhouette moved slowly across the backyard, gliding in the moonlight. Not running, just walking, like he was taking his time. I could see him more clearly now, tall, pale face, dark hoodie. He wasn't lost. He wasn't confused. He was searching. He walked right up to the glass, the same window as before, and placed his hand flat against it. I could see the smudge it left on the cold surface. That's when I called the police again. This time, I didn't hang up. The dispatcher kept me talking. Stay where you are. Don't engage. Help is on the way. From the corner of my eye, I saw the blue-red flash of patrol lights sweep through the neighborhood. Relief hit me like air after drowning. When they found him in the backyard, he didn't run. He just stood there, staring at the officers as if they were the ones trespassing. They questioned him for a while, then came to talk to me. He says he was looking for a friend who used to live here, one officer explained. Claims he got the address wrong. I stared at the officer, disbelief tightening my throat. He came back twice. He looked right at me. I understand, the officer said, but his voice was careful, too careful. We can't arrest him. He didn't break in, but we've warned him. If he returns, call us again. They let him go. That night, I sat in the same spot he'd stood, staring through the glass at the dark yard outside. His fingerprints were still faintly visible on the window. I couldn't bring myself to wipe them off. For days, I jumped at every sound. Every car passing, every knock from a neighbor, every elevator ding. It all sounded like him. I moved out 2 months later. Found another place across town, smaller, safer, or at least I hoped so. But sometimes, even now, when I close my eyes, I can see that handprint. That slow, deliberate tap on the glass. That expression, half hidden, patient, as if he was waiting for the right time to be let in. Fear changes you in quiet ways. It teaches you that danger doesn't always come crashing through the door. Sometimes, it knocks first, politely. Sometimes, it waits until you're comfortable. And sometimes, it stares through your window in silence, just to remind you that safety is only an illusion. Because once you've seen a stranger's reflection where your own should be, you never look at your windows the same way again.